The late afternoon sun draped long, golden shadows across the cracked asphalt of Jerry's Roadside diner parking lot in Lincoln, Nebraska. It was the kind of place where time seemed to idle, locals gathered for endless coffee refills, truckers grabbed greasy bites before disappearing down endless highways. The low hum of chatter and the occasional clink of dishes drifted faintly through the diner's open windows. But outside, the easy calm was about to snap. Leon, a man in his mid-40s, rolled smoothly into the lot in a sleek black wheelchair. His crisp button-down shirt, faded jeans, and quiet, composed demeanor made him stand out, not for his chair, but for the aura he carried. His gaze remained steady, fixed ahead, as if the world around him was just background noise. Leon had only intended to grab a late lunch after running errands, completely unaware that he was about to become the focus of some unwanted attention. Across the lot, 5 bikers lounged against their motorcycles, the metallic beasts gleaming under the waning sun. Their laughter sliced through the air, rough, jagged, with an undercurrent of cruelty. One of them jabbed an elbow into his friend, nodding toward Leon. "Hey, rollin' thunder," a voice barked, sharp as broken glass. The others erupted into laughter, coarse and biting. Leon didn't flinch. He didn't even glance their way. His hands moved with practiced ease on the wheel rims, his focus unbroken, his calm like armor. But the bikers weren't the type to let indifference slide. One of them, a swaggering figure with a cocky grin and an ego too big for his leather vest, pushed off his bike and started toward Leon. The others followed, boots crunching against the gravel like distant thunder. Leon slowed instinctively, his senses sharpening. He stopped near the diner's entrance, his hand hovering over the wheel rim, poised yet relaxed. The leader of the group, a burly man with a patch reading "Outlaw Rebels" stitched onto his vest, stepped closer, his grin a thin veneer over something darker. "Hey, buddy," he called out, mockery dripping from every word. "Where's the fire? Or you just out for a stroll?" More laughter erupted, meaner this time, feeding off itself like a spark catching dry brush. Leon turned his head slightly, meeting the man's gaze with eyes steady and unbothered. "Just grabbing some lunch," he replied evenly, his voice a smooth, controlled note against their discordant noise. But his composure only stoked their aggression. Another biker, wiry with tattoos coiling up his arms like serpents, sneered, "What's the matter, man? Ain't gonna run us over, are ya?" He mimicked wheeling motions with exaggerated flair, drawing another round of hollow laughter. Leon didn't bite. He simply shifted his chair, angling to move past them, disinterest etched into every motion. But one of the bikers stepped into his path, cutting him off. "Not so fast," the leader growled, his grin fading into something colder. "We're just having a little fun, right? No need to be rude." The air grew heavy, tension crackling like static. Inside the diner, a few patrons stole glances through the windows, eyes flickering with concern but rooted by fear. Leon's gaze swept over the group, a loose semicircle tightening around him. No fear showed on his face. "I don't want any trouble," he said plainly, his voice carrying an undercurrent of authority that made the men pause, if only for a second. When they didn't back down, Leon reached into his pocket, pulling out his phone with deliberate, unhurried movements. The leader's smugness faltered just a fraction. "Who you calling, huh?" he snapped, his bravado slipping. "Cops ain't gonna do much out here." Leon didn't respond. He dialed, lifted the phone to his ear, and spoke a few quiet words before hanging up. No theatrics. No threats. Just calm, clinical efficiency. The bikers exchanged uneasy glances, the cracks in their confidence starting to show. Leon tucked the phone away without another word, his silence louder than any threat could have been. The leader squinted at him, trying to pierce through Leon's unshakable calm. "What was that about, huh? You think you're scaring us?" he sneered, but his voice betrayed the tremor of uncertainty creeping in. Leon didn't dignify it with a reply. He didn't need to. Instead, he wheeled himself a few feet to the side, positioning against the diner's wall, relaxed as if he had all the time in the world. His composure gnawed at them. The leader shifted restlessly, his swagger thinning. "What, you got backup coming?" another biker joked, though his laughter was brittle, hollow. The seconds dragged, thick with unease. The biker's bravado wavered, replaced by restless shuffling and nervous glances. Then it happened. A low, distant rumble seeped into the air, subtle at first, like the growl of an oncoming storm. It grew louder with each heartbeat until it roared, a chorus of engines cutting through the fragile tension. Heads snapped toward the main road. A convoy of motorcycles appeared, chrome glinting under the fading sun, engines thundering in unison. Dozens of riders, clad in black leather, helmets reflecting the dying light, patches stitched onto their jackets, symbols of unity, of something bigger than the sum of its parts. Leon watched them approach, his expression unreadable, save for the faintest curl of a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. The convoy pulled into the lot with precision, bikes lining up like soldiers, their presence a silent declaration. The leader of the bikers stumbled back, bravado crumbling with every engine that went silent. "Who the hell are these guys?" he muttered, but the answer was already written in the fear spreading across his face. The balance had shifted, and there was no going back. The riders dismounted in near unison, the rhythmic thud of their boots a steady drumbeat. No shouting. No threats. Just presence, solid, undeniable. Their jackets bore a single, unifying patch stitched boldly across their backs, symbols not of intimidation, but of unwavering protection. Leon finally spoke, his voice calm. "Told you I wasn't alone. Guardians of the road." The leader of the convoy emerged from a line of bikes, a tall figure marked by a silver beard that shimmered under the harsh afternoon sun, his piercing eyes sharp as steel. He stepped forward with purpose, his gaze sweeping over the tense scene until it landed on Leon. "You good, brother?" His voice was steady, calm, but carried the weight of authority, firm enough to slice through the lingering tension. Leon gave a subtle nod, his face a mask of quiet resilience. "I am now," he replied, his voice even, betraying none of the turmoil that had brewed moments before. The silver-bearded man shifted his attention to the group of bikers who'd been harassing Leon. Their earlier bravado had evaporated, replaced by wide-eyed fear. They looked like deer caught in the blinding glare of headlights, frozen in place. The leader of the bikers, desperate to reclaim some semblance of dominance, puffed out his chest and barked, "What's all this about?" But the edge in his voice wavered, betraying his unease. The guardian took a single step closer. That was all it took. The biker flinched, his courage crumbling beneath the weight of the man's presence. "This is about respect," the guardian said, his tone even, yet heavy with an undeniable finality. "Something you clearly don't understand." The other guardians moved silently, fanning out to form a protective semicircle around Leon. Their stance was casual, but the message was clear: Leon wasn't alone. The bikers exchanged nervous glances, their earlier swagger dissolving like mist under a rising sun. A wiry young biker with tattoos etched across his arms mumbled, "Man, we didn't mean anything by it. Just messing around, you know?" But the guardian leader wasn't buying the flimsy excuse. He crossed his arms, his gaze like a blade. "Messing around? Harassing a man in a wheelchair isn't messing around. That's cowardice." The words landed like a punch. The bikers had no retort. Silence enveloped the lot, broken only by the faint creak of the diner door as curious faces peeked out. The biker leader swallowed hard, his earlier smirk now a ghost of itself. He glanced at his crew, seeking support, but they avoided his gaze, their courage evaporated. Leon finally spoke, his voice calm yet cutting through the quiet like a razor. "You thought I was alone, didn't you?" He let the words hang, their weight undeniable. "That's the thing about people like you. You only pick on those you think can't fight back." The guardian leader cast a brief look at Leon, a flicker of pride in his eyes before turning back to the bikers. "Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize to this man, properly. Then you're going to leave. And you're not going to pull this kind of stunt again. Ever. Do I make myself clear?" The biker leader opened his mouth, perhaps to argue, but the unwavering stare of the guardians stopped him cold. His shoulders sagged as he muttered, Yeah, okay. We're sorry." Leon raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "That didn't sound like you meant it." The guardian leader leaned in slightly, his voice a low growl. "You'd better mean it." The apology came again, louder this time, more deliberate. "We're sorry," the leader mumbled, glancing at Leon, then quickly at the ground. His crew followed suit with their own half-hearted mumbles, the bravado drained from their voices. Leon gave a single nod. "Apology accepted. But remember, you don't get a second chance to fix this kind of mistake." The bikers scrambled back to their motorcycles, their retreat clumsy, marked by haste and humiliation. The guardians remained still, their silent watchfulness more intimidating than any words could have been. As the roar of engines faded into the distance, the parking lot grew quiet, the heavy tension dissipating like smoke in the breeze. Leon turned to the silver-bearded man, extending his hand. "Thank you," he said simply. The man grasped Leon's hand firmly. "Anytime, brother. You're not alone. Remember that." The convoy mounted their bikes, engines rumbling to life, but this time the sound wasn't one of intimidation. It was a chorus of solidarity, a testament to strength in numbers, a reminder that standing up against injustice matters. As the last of the guardians rode off, Leon took a deep breath, the weight of the encounter lifting. The hum of their bikes lingered in the air, no longer a threat but a symbol of triumph. Inside the diner, life resumed. Patrons who had been glued to the windows returned to their meals, whispering among themselves. Leon rolled toward the door, unhurried. He'd faced worse in his life. Today was just another reminder that standing firm against hate was always the right choice. The waitress, a middle-aged woman with short blonde hair, greeted him with a soft smile. "Everything okay out there?" she asked, her eyes scanning him for any signs of distress. Leon returned her smile, his voice warm. "Yeah, everything's fine now. Just had a little misunderstanding." She raised an eyebrow but didn't press. "Good to hear. Your usual?" "Please." Settling into his booth, Leon reflected on the encounter. The bikers had seen only a man in a wheelchair, an easy target. But they hadn't accounted for the truth, he was part of a larger community, one that wouldn't hesitate to stand beside him. The silver-bearded guardian had been right. It wasn't just about the apology. It was about the message. About unity. About showing that even in the face of intimidation, one person's courage could ripple outward, inspiring others. Leon had stood firm, and in doing so, he reminded everyone watching that real strength isn't measured by physical power. It's found in the resolve to stay true to oneself, no matter the situation. A lesson not just for the bikers, but for anyone who bore witness. Kindness and respect will always outweigh fear and cruelty. When the waitress returned with his coffee, Leon took a sip, savoring the warmth as it spread through him. For the first time that day, he felt at peace. He had won, not because he fought, but because he never wavered. And in doing so, he'd inspired others to do the same.